Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create ripples that travel through decades. But what happens when those ripples return to their source? Have you ever wondered if someone remembers you? Not the you that exists today, but the version of yourself from years ago, when you were just a child, speaking words you've long forgotten. What if those forgotten words saved someone's life? And what if, by some twist of fate, that person now holds your future in their hands, without either of you knowing it? If you're intrigued by stories of destiny, forgotten connections, and the power of small acts of kindness, you've found the right place. Take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to hear might forever change how you see the strangers around you. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when a routine office cleaning uncovers a 25-year-old secret. This is the story of Lena and Ethan, two souls connected by a moment neither fully remembers, until a mistaken office cleaning brings everything full circle. San Francisco glowed with evening light as Lena finished her shift at the prestigious Wilson & Blake law firm. 25 years old, with quiet eyes that rarely met others, she moved through the office spaces like a shadow, emptying trash, cans, wiping down surfaces, and disappearing before most employees arrived the next morning. The cleaning job wasn't glamorous, but it paid better than her previous positions. Having bounced through the foster care system since age 6, Lena had learned to survive on her own terms. She'd worked as a diner waitress, a grocery store clerk, a dog walker, anything to keep a roof over her head and food on her table. Education had been a luxury she couldn't afford, at least not yet. What most people didn't notice about Lena was her remarkable memory for faces. She remembered everyone she met, often recalling small details about them they'd mentioned in passing. The security guard whose daughter had just started ballet, the receptionist who collected vintage postcards, the IT guy who brought homemade kombucha every Wednesday, but Lena was convinced no one remembered her. Why would they? She was just the cleaning lady, invisible, unremarkable, forgettable. "You're too quiet. That's your problem, Mr. Rourke, the building manager, had told her during orientation. 15 years managing this building, and I can tell you, the invisible ones never last long." His weathered face had crinkled with disapproval. "Do your job, keep your head down, and don't get curious about places that aren't your business." The only bright spot in her workday was Charlotte, a 24-year-old administrative assistant who always acknowledged Lena with a warm smile. You? "No," Charlotte said one evening as Lena cleaned near her desk. "I've never seen anyone clean a computer keyboard as thoroughly as you do." Lena had paused, surprised to be noticed. "My first foster mum was a neat freak," she explained softly. "Guess some habits stick." It was the beginning of an unexpected friendship. Charlotte would occasionally share her lunch during breaks, and Lena would listen to Charlotte's stories about office politics and her dream of becoming a lawyer herself someday. "You should consider night school," Charlotte suggested one day. "The firm actually has a scholarship program for employees. Even the cleaning staff can apply." Lena had smiled politely, but inside she felt the familiar weight of impossibility. People like her didn't get scholarships. People like her remained invisible until the night everything changed. It was a Tuesday in late autumn. Lena had received her cleaning schedule for the evening, routine duties, nothing special. But as she pushed her cart toward the executive floor, she noticed something unusual. The schedule listed Office 812 for deep cleaning, but 8 to 12 was the CEO's office, typically off-limits to the cleaning staff, except on scheduled Fridays. She hesitated, checking the paper again. Perhaps it was a mistake. She glanced at her watch, 8:30 p.m. Most executives had gone home hours ago. Deciding it was better to follow instructions than risk a reprimand, Lena took the elevator to the 8th floor. The executive floor was eerily quiet. The thick carpet muffled her steps as she approached Office 812. The nameplate on the door read, "Ethan Blake, Chief Executive Officer." She'd never seen him in person, only his name on company communications and his face on the firm's website. She knocked gently. No answer. She tried the door. Unlocked. The office was dark except for the ambient city light filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. She decided not to turn on the overhead lights, working instead with her small cleaning lamp. The office was immaculate, barely looked used. She dusted the shelves, wiped down the glass table, and approached the large mahogany desk. As she carefully arranged the items after cleaning, something caught her eye. A silver frame partially hidden behind a stack of folders. She moved the cleaning cloth over it and froze. The photograph was old, the edges worn. Two children, a boy and a girl, sitting on a bench outside what appeared to be an institutional building. The girl couldn't have been more than 6, with dark curly hair and a gap-toothed smile. The boy was older, perhaps 9 or 10, thin and serious-looking. Lena's hands trembled. The girl in the photo was her. She'd recognized that building. Anywhere. Evergreen Children's Home, where she'd spent 3 years before being placed with her first foster family. But the boy, she squinted, trying to remember. There had been so many children coming and going. Suddenly the office door swung open. Mr. Rourke stood in the doorway, face tight with anger. "What are you doing in here?" he demanded. Lena quickly set down the frame. "I was just cleaning. It was on my schedule." He snatched the paper from her hand. "This is for 7:12, not 8:12. Can't you read numbers?" "I'm sorry," I thought. "You're not paid to think. You're paid to clean the assigned areas." His eyes narrowed. "Did you touch anything on Mr. Blake's desk?" "No," she lied. "Just dusting." Mr. Rourke's expression was suspicious. "Finish up and get out. And if I catch you in here again without proper authorization, you'll be looking for another job." Lena nodded, heart pounding. As she gathered her supplies, a single question burned in her mind. Why would the CEO of Wilson & Blake law firm have a childhood photograph of her? I know you're probably wondering the same thing I am right now. How could these two lives possibly be connected? What's the story behind that photograph? If you're finding this mystery as intriguing as I do, take a second to hit that like button while we continue this journey together. Trust me, what happens next changed both their lives forever. Sleep evaded Lena that night. The photograph played on repeat in her mind. Her younger self smiling despite everything, sitting next to a boy she couldn't quite remember. What was his name? Why did the CEO have this picture? Was it even her or just someone who looked similar? The next morning, Charlotte found Lena in the break room staring absently into her coffee. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Charlotte said, sliding into the chair across from her. Lena hesitated. Trust didn't come easily, but Charlotte had been nothing but kind. Quietly, she recounted the previous night's discovery. Charlotte's eyes widened. "Wait, you're saying you found a childhood photo of yourself on Blake's desk? That's weird." "Maybe it's not me," Lena said. "Maybe I'm imagining things. Or maybe there's a connection you don't know about." Charlotte pulled out her phone. "Let me do some quick research." Lena watched as Charlotte's fingers moved rapidly across the screen. After a few minutes, Charlotte looked up, her expression serious. "So, Ethan Blake wasn't always Ethan Blake," she said. "His birth name was Ethan Carter. He was adopted at age 12 by the Blakes, a prominent family in Boston. Before that," she paused, "he was in the foster system." "Evergreen," Lena whispered. Charlotte nodded slowly. "There's a mention in this alumni spotlight article. He spent 3 years at Evergreen Children's Home in San Francisco before his adoption." The revelation hit Lena like a physical force. She had known him, or at least they had shared the same space, breathed the same air, perhaps even spoken to each other. "I need to know more," Lena said. "Why would he keep that photo all these years?" Over the next week, Lena found herself paying closer attention to the executive floor. She learned from other staff that Ethan Blake was something of an enigma, brilliant in the courtroom, reserved in personal interactions. He'd built the firm from a small practice to one of the most respected in California, but little was known about his private life. Then strange things began happening. First, Lena's cleaning schedule was permanently changed. She was now assigned to the main floors with better hours and higher pay. Then, she received notification of unexpected health insurance coverage, a benefit typically reserved for full-time employees, not part-time cleaning staff. "Someone's looking out for you," Charlotte commented when Lena showed her the insurance letter. "And I think we both know who." "But why?" Lena asked. "He hasn't even spoken to me. What Lena didn't know was that Ethan Blake had recognized her the moment her application had crossed his desk 3 months earlier. Not immediately. Her adult face was different from the child she'd been, but something about her name and background had triggered a memory he'd kept buried for decades. That night in his office, alone with the photograph he'd treasured. For 25 years, Ethan had made a phone call to Human Resources. "I want all the information we have on Lena Hope," he'd requested, "and I want her transferred to a better position with full benefits, effective immediately." The HR director had been confused but compliant. "May I ask why, sir?" Ethan had paused, looking at the photograph. "Because she once saved my life, though she probably doesn't remember it." Meanwhile, Mr. Rourke had grown increasingly suspicious of Lena's sudden favorable treatment. He cornered her one evening as she was finishing her shift. "I don't know what game you're playing," he said, voice low and threatening, "but people like you don't suddenly get special treatment around here without a reason." "I'm just doing my job," Lena replied, attempting to move past him. "Is that what they call it?" His implication was clear. "Getting cozy with the boss. I've seen your type before, thinking you can sleep your way to the top." Lena felt heat rise to her face. "That's not what's happening." Then explain the schedule change, the benefits. He stepped closer. "I've worked here 15 years. I know how things work." "Maybe you don't know everything," Lena said, surprising herself with her boldness. Mr. Rourke's eyes narrowed. "I'm watching you, Miss Hope. One wrong move, and I'll make sure you're out of here faster than you can clean a toilet." Word of the confrontation spread quickly through the support staff. By the following day, rumors were circulating about Lena's supposed relationship with the CEO. Some staff began avoiding her. Others watched her with curious eyes. Only Charlotte remained steadfastly by her side. "This is ridiculous," Charlotte fumed during lunch. "Just because you got a schedule change." "People get schedule changes all the time, not people like me," Lena said quietly. "What does that mean? Invisible people, forgettable people." Charlotte put down her sandwich. "Is that really how you see yourself?" Before Lena could answer, the break room door opened and several associates entered, their conversation dying when they spotted Lena. She quickly gathered her things. "I should get back to work," she mumbled. As the rumors escalated, Mr. Rourke became more emboldened. He began documenting every minute Lena was late, every spot she missed while cleaning, building a case for her termination. By the end of the week, he had scheduled a meeting with HR to discuss her performance issues. What he didn't expect was for Charlotte to appear at that meeting, armed with evidence of his harassment. "If anyone should be under review for their behavior, it's Mr. Rourke," Charlotte stated firmly to the HR director. "He's been targeting Lena with unfounded accusations and creating a hostile work environment." Mr. Rourke's face reddened. "She's getting preferential treatment for no reason. Everyone knows there's something going on between her and Blake." "There is nothing going on," Charlotte insisted. "And if you'd ever been at the bottom looking up, you'd know what it feels like to be invisible. People like Lena don't ask for much, just to be seen as human beings." The HR director looked uncomfortable. "These are serious allegations on both sides. I'll need to bring this to Mr. Blake's attention." "Fine," Mr. Rourke said confidently. "Let's see what he has to say about his little cleaning lady." Little did he know, Ethan Blake had already been planning something that would change everything. The following Monday, an all-staff meeting was announced. Mandatory attendance for every employee, including support staff. The large conference room was packed, with executives and partners seated at the table while associates and staff lined the walls. Lena stood in the back corner, wishing she could disappear. She could feel the curious glances, hear the whispered speculations. Mr. Rourke stood nearby, a smug expression on his face. Ethan Blake entered the room, tall and commanding in his tailored suit. The room fell silent. He looked nothing, like the skinny boy in the photograph, but there was something in his eyes, a depth, a sadness perhaps, that seemed familiar to Lena. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "Today I'm pleased to announce a new initiative at Wilson & Blake, one that's very personal to me." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room before continuing. Many of you know our firm's commitment to pro bono work for children in the foster system. What you may not know is why that cause is so important to me. 25 years ago, I was one of those children. A murmur rippled through the room. Ethan continued, his voice strong despite the personal nature of his disclosure. I spent 3 years at Evergreen Children's Home before I was adopted. Those were dark times for me, times when I questioned whether my life had any value at all. He took a deep breath. One night, I made the decision to end my life. The room was completely silent now. Lena felt a strange tightness in her chest, a memory stirring at the edges of her consciousness. I had it all planned out, but as I was about to act, a little girl found me. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, but she sat down next to me and asked why I was crying. Ethan's voice caught slightly. When I told her no one would miss me if I was gone, do you know what she said? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small worn piece of paper. She said, I would miss you, and maybe you're supposed to grow up and do something really important that helps people like us. Then she gave me this. He held up the paper, a childish drawing of a sun with a smiling face. For 25 years I've kept this drawing and a photograph of the two of us, taken the day before I left Evergreen. For 25 years I've built this firm with her words in my heart, hoping someday I might repay that debt. Ethan's eyes found Lena in the back of the room. Today I'm announcing the creation of the Lena Hope Scholarship Fund for employees and their families who have experienced the foster care system. This program will provide full educational support for those seeking to advance their education and careers. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. All eyes turned to Lena, who stood frozen in shock. Lena, Ethan said directly to her, you probably don't remember that day, but I do. You saved my life with simple kindness, and I've carried your words with me ever since. Today, I want to return that favor by saying, you deserve to be seen, to be heard, and to have every opportunity to become whoever you want to be. Tears streamed down Lena's face as the memory finally surfaced. A sad boy on the roof, her childish attempt to comfort him, the drawing she'd made in crayon. From his position against the wall, Mr. Rourke stared in disbelief, the smug expression gone from his face. Charlotte squeezed Lena's hand, whispering, see, you were never invisible. The conference room erupted in applause. Colleagues who had previously avoided Lena's gaze now looked at her with newfound respect, but Lena barely noticed them. Her eyes remained locked with Ethan's, a silent understanding passing between them, the recognition of two souls who had once kept each other afloat in the darkest of waters. As the meeting dispersed, Ethan approached her. Up close, she could see the shadow of the boy he had been, in the curve of his jaw, in the slight hesitation of his smile. I hope I didn't embarrass you, he said softly. Lena shook her head, finding her voice. You remembered me all this time. How could I forget? You were the only person who saw me, really saw me, during those years. He paused. When your application came across my desk 3 months ago, I couldn't believe it. I had to check your background twice to be sure. That's why you kept the photo, Lena realized, as a reminder that sometimes the smallest kindness can save a life. He smiled. Though I admit I never expected to see you again. I don't remember much from those days, Lena admitted, but I do remember a boy who looked sad. I remember wanting to make him smile. You did more than that. You gave me purpose. Over the next few weeks, a remarkable transformation took place at Wilson & Blake law firm. The scholarship program was formally established, with Lena as its first recipient. She enrolled in night classes at the local community college, taking her first steps toward a degree in social work. More surprisingly, Mr. Rourke approached her one afternoon as she was finishing her shift. Miss Hope, he began stiffly, I owe you an apology. Lena looked up, startled. Mr. Rourke, I made assumptions about you, unfair ones. He cleared his throat uncomfortably. In 15 years, I've seen many come and go. I stopped seeing individuals and started seeing them stereotypes. It's easy to do that, Lena said thoughtfully. To forget that everyone has a story. Yes, well, he shifted his weight. I've asked HR to remove my complaints from your file. And he hesitated. I would appreciate if we could start fresh. Lena offered a genuine smile. I'd like that. As word of the scholarship spread throughout the company, other employees began to share their own stories of hardship overcome, of unexpected kindnesses received. The firm's culture slowly shifted toward one of greater openness and support. Charlotte, ever the visionary, proposed a mentorship program to complement the scholarship, partnering experienced employees with newcomers from disadvantaged backgrounds. You've started something special, she told Lena one evening as they walked to their cars. People are talking about things they never discussed before. They're seeing each other differently. I didn't do anything, Lena protested. It was all Ethan, but it started with you, with that little girl who wasn't afraid to reach out to someone in pain. Charlotte bumped Lena's shoulder gently. Don't diminish your role in this story. 6 months later, Lena was offered a new position, coordinator of the Lena Hope Initiative, which had expanded beyond the scholarship to include mentorship, internship opportunities, and community outreach. She would work directly with Ethan, building bridges between the firm and organizations supporting foster youth. On her first day in the new role, she found a small package on her desk. Inside was a silver frame containing the photograph from Ethan's office, 2 children on a bench, unaware of how their lives would one day reconnect. Attached was a note in Ethan's handwriting. No one is invisible. Sometimes we just need to be reminded to look. That afternoon, they met in his office to discuss the initiative's future. The city skyline stretched beyond the windows, bathed in golden afternoon light. I've been thinking about what you said that day, Ethan reflected. About me growing up to do something important. I've tried to build something meaningful with this firm, but I've always felt there was more to be done. You've helped. Countless people, Lena said, perhaps, but I think this initiative might be what I was truly meant to do. He looked at her intently. What we were meant to do together. I was just a child, Lena said. I didn't know my words would matter so much. That's the thing about kindness, Ethan replied. We rarely know the impact of our actions. One small moment can change the trajectory of a life forever. As they outlined their vision for expanding the program, Lena felt a profound sense of coming full circle. The invisible girl who cleaned offices late at night had become visible at last, not just to others, but to herself. Her words, spoken in childhood innocence, had created ripples that had returned to her when she needed them most. Later that evening, as Lena packed up her new office, Charlotte stopped by with a celebratory coffee. So, Charlotte said with a smile, how does it feel to be the inspiration behind the company's most talked about initiative? Lena considered the question, surreal, but also right somehow, like pieces falling into place. And so, you know, Charlotte mused, most people go through life never knowing if they've made a difference. You got to see yours firsthand. As they walked out together, they passed the lobby where a new plaque had been installed that morning. It read, the Lena Hope Initiative. Because one act of kindness can change a life forever. Sometimes the person you save today may return to save you tomorrow. The truth of those words resonated deep within Lena's heart. 25 years. Ergo, a little girl had saved a boy with simple kindness. Today, that same boy, now a man, had returned that kindness when she needed it most. And together, they would extend that circle of compassion to others who, like them, just needed to be seen. As she left the building, Lena noticed Mr. Rourke holding the door open for a young woman in a cleaning uniform, a new hire, looking nervous on her first day. Instead of his usual gruff manner, he was explaining the building layout with unexpected patience, even offering a small smile of encouragement. Lena caught his eye, and he nodded slightly, an acknowledgement of change, of seeing differently. She nodded back, knowing that transformation happened not just in grand gestures, but in these small moments of human connection. 1 year later, at the first annual Lena Hope Initiative Gala, dozens of scholarship recipients and mentees gathered to celebrate their achievements. Among them was a young man who approached Lena with tears in his eyes. I just wanted to say thank you, he said. Last year I was ready to give up on school, on everything. Then I heard about your story. My story? Lena asked, surprised. How you and Mr. Blake found each other again after all those years. How one small kindness came back around. He smiled through his tears. It made me wonder if maybe I'm meant to be here too. If maybe I could grow up to do something important someday. As Lena watched him walk away, she felt Ethan's presence beside her. Another ripple, he said quietly. She nodded, understanding completely. And who knows how far it will travel? In the soft glow of the evening, surrounded by lives being transformed, Lena finally felt the truth that had eluded her for so long. No one is invisible when we truly see each other. And sometimes, the light we offer others in their darkest moment returns to illuminate our own path when we need it most. With just one act of kindness, you can forever change someone's life, even if you never know it. No one is truly invisible. Sometimes, you're the light someone is desperately holding on to in order to live. As we close this story of Lena and Ethan, I hope it serves as a reminder that we all have the power to change lives. Sometimes with words and actions we might forget, but others will remember forever. If this story touched you, perhaps there's someone from your past who deserves to know the difference they made in your life. And if you enjoyed this journey with me today, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to join me for more stories that remind us of our shared humanity. Until next time, remember, no one is truly invisible. Sometimes we just need to look a little closer.